All right, Council, I have been informed that we are now in open session out of our recess from yesterday. Just before we get started, Council, I would like to express my personal appreciation to Councillor Barnstable for his work over the last 3 or 4 days while I was away. Thank you, Councillor, for doing a wonderful, admirable job with your colleagues and with the public. We certainly appreciate it. So, Council, a couple of reminders before we get going. Our technology this morning won't allow us to vote electronically, so it will be a show of hands this morning. And also, Council, just a reminder that because, once again, of technical difficulties, please speak louder into your microphones and so on. I'll say, Council, that this is goes well with me and my current hearing challenges and so on. But let's remember that we have technical challenges that require us to do that. So we have business arising now to address Council. And the first is a motion to accept the report into the corporate record. I've asked Legislative Services to bring that up, and it's on our screen now, Council, and you can just take a look at that. Is that a motion to adopt? Thank you, Councillor Barnstable. A seconder, please. Councillor Jeffries. Thank you for that. Council, any comments on the motion? Seeing none, we'll have a show of hands. All in favor? And that carries unanimously, Council. Thank you. Council, we'll move on now to another item of arising, which is a resolution, Council, that you have been provided with this morning. This is a resolution that I feel very strongly, personally, Council, about. And I have taken the rare position of moving this personally as your mayor this morning. And if I could get a seconder, Councillor Hyam, thank you for it. I think if we could bring the motion forward, I'd be prepared to introduce it and to speak to it. All right, thank you, Council. I'll just give you a moment to take a look at that resolution before I start my remarks. Council, we're comfortable to start, or I'm just making sure. All right, Council, may we proceed? I'm just making sure we can proceed, getting some head nods and so on. All right. So thank you to the seconder. Thank you, Councillor Hyam, for seconding the item for our consideration this morning, Council, on this. Council, I'll say that a foundation, Council, of our accountability as a governing body is ensuring a safe and respectful community. We do that in several ways. We obviously do it in a formal enforcement sense. We also do it in the way we treat each other and how we communicate with each other and so on in maintaining a safe, respectful community. We also are accountable council for a professional workforce. Public service is a difficult calling, but our public servants listen and respond to the will of council, and without them, we couldn't build or sustain the city that we currently have in front of us. That's an accountability of council. It's part of our strategic plan, council. A thriving city, a connected city, a city that comes together, works together, progresses together, welcomes together, etc. Our organizational health council is crucial in maintaining the strategic plan of council. We are charged, our council is charged with delivering services and delivering a way and quality of life that ensures it's not only high in quality, but is sustainable. And sustainability, sometimes we think, oh, you know, affordability. Yes, affordability is part of sustainability, but sustainability is all about deeper commitment to the jobs that we do. It's about grasping our calling as individuals. It's about seeing our citizens holistically, not as simply servants or employees or whatever. Holistically is what makes a city run. I will say, council, that the issue of dynamic staffing has created a great dissent in our community, in our EMS, in our fire departments, and so on. Let me say, first of all, that I am a personal recipient of the services of our fire department. In 2003, we suffered a major house fire on 68 McLean Street on Boxing Day. We had a response come from several trucks, etc. And to this day, I marveled at the courage and the commitment of those men and women that ran towards the fire while our family ran in the opposite direction. And I remember their comfort. To my then current wife and children on Boxing Day, of all days, their comfort and so on. I am a personal recipient of the courage of our fire department. And it grieves me to see now how we are treating each other across the community. The changes we implemented and decided to implement as a body in January, or forgive me, a month before in the budget, those are material changes to how we delivered our service. They were required, though, to be able to, and I'll use the word sustain again, to be able to sustain the cost of delivery and the quality and safety of delivery. I respect that these changes have triggered responses from the advocates for our fire people, for the Red Deer Firefighters Association. I fully respect that. I fully respect that. But that advocacy must be couched, counsel, in respectful, constructive dialogue. I'll say this, council. Each and every one of us deserves a safe workplace. We are all connected to families, through relations, to our children, to our neighbors, and so on. We are all of the human fabric and kind. Personally, I grieve this escalation that we are seeing. This is not the Red Deer that we know. The great city of Red Deer is not being served by this fractiousness, I'll say. So the heart of my motion this morning is asking for civility to return, for respect to return, for negotiations and so on to return to a respectful tone, and that the rhetoric cease. The rhetoric cease. A part of the motion calls for our colleagues at the Firefighters Association to take down the billboards that point towards personal attacks, unsettlement, unsettled mental health, unsettled feelings, all of those things. We are not served by this. We are not served by this. I seek your support, council, in reestablishing the civility we all long for. We all long for. And I'll have more to say if I was addressing my remarks to the chair, which I suppose I am. I'll have more to say at the close of debate. But now I pass the motion to you, council, for your deliberation this morning. And Councillor Heim, I'll start with you. I think you were the seconder of the motion, and so we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. I'm just thinking, I know Councillor Cron has a commitment. You're okay?
Okay.
All right, then I'm happy to proceed. Thank you. Well, really appreciate your comments. Fully support everything you've said. Firstly, colleagues, I want to express my gratitude and support of our local firefighters who put their lives on the line every day when they come to work, never knowing what their day might bring, who nevertheless exhibit extraordinary courage and devotion in protecting our community and facing circumstances, often tragedies, that most of us rarely encounter and have a hard time even imagining. And it's been out of that respect and admiration for the incredible work our firefighters do that I have remained silent to this day and have not responded publicly to the many ads, social media posts, emails, lawn signs, and other forms of negative campaigning that have been circulating within our community and beyond. To date, I have honored the labor negotiations process between the city and our firefighters union and have not inserted myself politically into the fray of public commentary. However, the new billboard campaign recently initiated in our community by the union has crossed the line of civility and reasonable expectations into the realm of personal attacks, bullying, intimidation tactics that frankly have no place in the values and consciousness of our community. I can no longer remain silent and watch an honorable, hardworking, and devoted fire chief, the current president of the Canadian National Fire Chiefs Association, by the way, and Canada's representative to the International Association of Fire Chiefs, be maligned and personally attacked in such a public and patently unjust manner. Its latest step has crossed the line that should never have been crossed. There are times when silence in the face of gross injustice may be taken as condoning injustice, and I will no longer remain silent. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Mayor, the only reason our decorated and renowned fire chief and his team of unassailable deputy chiefs are getting attacked is because they support dynamic staffing, and the union appears to want to get rid of it. Dynamic staffing is an overtime reduction strategy approved by City Council in last fall's budget that wisely balances the need to keep our community safe and secure while also ensuring our tax dollars are managed responsibly and sustainably. We need to be honest with our community in saying that the city has had an emergency services overtime spending problem that has been steadily rising over many years despite ongoing requests by the audit committee. Over the past 2 terms, I've served on the audit committee for 2, part of both terms. For 2 terms, the audit committee has been asking for those costs to be brought down to more acceptable levels. In 2024, EMS overtime costs in Red Deer totaled $3.2 million, the highest in the province by far on a per capita basis. For a service of 192 firefighters, $3.2 million breaks down to approximately $16,500 per member. By comparison, Edmonton spent $8.2 million overtime for 1,200 firefighters, or $6,830 per member. Calgary spent $4.8 million in overtime for their 1,584 firefighters, or $3,030 per member. And Lethbridge, our most comparable city by any measure and every measure, spent $658,000 in overtime for their 190 firefighters, or approximately $3,500 per member, compared to our $3.2 million overall and $16,500 per member. These numbers speak for themselves, and in our current fiscal environment where our operating reserve tax supported is in a negative $5.5 million deficit position, this kind of overtime spending is not sustainable or acceptable in any municipal context. And the reality is this: dynamic staffing is driving down overtime costs without compromising safety or response times in any manner. Period, full stop. In 2024, our community paid for 1,500 overtime shifts compared to our current 160 overtime shifts year to date in 2025. This represents a 90% reduction in overtime so far, with dynamic staffing utilized 85 times this year. What's important to note at this point is that the outcome of dynamic staffing, which is 2 members to a fire truck or a truck being shut down in one station but mobilized from another to a similar response time, actually happened organically in 2024, a total of 84 times, with no concerns or alarm bells raised by the union that year. It wasn't until Council formalized dynamic staffing as a model in the 2025 budget to reduce overtime hours that the union began criticizing both the model and our fire chief personally, accusing him and City Council of condoning unsafe, quote unquote, unsafe staffing practices. And you see it all over the city, the lawn signs, the billboards. When dynamic staffing outcomes occurred randomly and organically 84 times in 2024, the union did not raise a concern. When it's occurred formally and strategically, this year 85 times, in a manner that actually reduces overtime shifts by 90% to date, the union is wrongly claiming that the City of Red Deer and Chief McMullen don't support safe staffing. It's just not right, and it's not true. And honestly, like yourself, Mr. Mayor, it pains me to have to be so blunt in a public setting, but these are the facts, and our community has the right to hear all the facts, particularly when we are 48 days, away from another municipal election. Which brings me to my final point. Given the intensity of the current campaign alleging unsafe staffing practices in our EMS department, it is imperative that any person aspiring to serve on Red Deer City Council in the upcoming term study this issue with resolve. Distinguish the facts from allegations and fully inform yourself about any position you may want to attach yourself to or any financial contributions you may see fit to receive. The privilege and burden of this office is that councillors must come to this work prepared to make difficult, at times unpopular, decisions for the best interests of our whole community. Dynamic staffing is one of those decisions. It is in the best interests of our community, and I stand by it. And I fully stand by Chief McMullen and his exceptional team of leaders. The personal attacks on their character and competence are shameful and reprehensible. There is simply no place for that kind of bullying and intimidation in our community, not on our watch, and I can only hope not on the next council's watch either. Let me be clear. Red Deer City Council supports safe staffing. Dynamic staffing is safe, and it's also responsible. We need both in these challenging times. Thank you.
Councillor Hyam, I'll go to the queue, Council. Councillor Wojcicki, please.
Thank you, Mayor, for your remarks, and Councillor Hyam for the statistics and data. I won't repeat them. Councillor leadership, for me, with our voice and message to the staff of the City of Red Deer, our citizens, is important. And I appreciated, Mayor, your word of civility. It's important to speak out against personal attacks, which can impact one's feelings, whether at the workplace or even in the community. It can affect our mental health. It can affect how one feels going to work or to a meeting or an event. It can affect our job satisfaction, and it impacts how one feels, whether they feel respected in their workplace or community. This resolution, for me, it reminds us, all of us, as council, as leaders, our staff, as an employer, as the City of Red Deer, and for our staff, about civility and respectful behaviors. I come from a union environment, 30 years of work, and I think about my past experiences, even my personal work experiences and occasions. And while I may not have always agreed with workplace policy, practices, or a supervisor's direction, there are procedures and appropriate ways to respond. So what do we do when we don't like something? Do we, in this day and age, social media, we can easily post some messages, sometimes valuable, sometimes perhaps not valuable. We, in this case, we're seeing billboards, not billboards with a message, but billboards with a face. And I think that, to me, is the root of this issue. Well, how do we deal and process the conflict and our feelings about this? That's what I, and I think our colleague councillors, have been wrestling with. How much time and energy do we give to this issue when we think about all the other challenging issues within our community? And how do we respond to the ongoing conflict? For me, it is appropriate for an employer to provide workplace policies. That is the nature of work and the relationship between employer and employee, whether unionized or not. And in this case, it is appropriate for us as council to support administration policy of the dynamic staffing when we are considering our tax dollars. And Councillor Hines spoke to those statistics and the challenges that we've been working through, and the next council will continue to work through with the challenges of our budgets. Are conflicts and differences easy to resolve? No. Speaking from a union negotiation perspective, no, they're not. But I do believe it's about participating in the ongoing processes available. And in this case, through the collective agreement procedures and other available procedures that can be available. That's how one finds real solutions. And it's relational. This is relational. Whether it's the administration that's across the union, those faces may change. The faces may change at this council table, but this is about relational issues. Our professional behavior matters at the workplace. It matters for me as a councillor at this table and in the community. And so too, it's important for me to call out disrespectful or inappropriate behavior when one sees or experiences it. And I also again reflect upon the time and energy and the mental and emotional energies that it takes. That it's taken for our fire people at all levels to react, to process, and respond to this issue. And I feel for our chief and chiefs, and all those who might feel intimidated or feel targeted in a workplace, and in this case, our City of Red Deer workplace. It's a reminder, and it's not easy, to speak up and respect each other in the workplace. For me, as our council leadership for the City of Red Deer, to reiterate also to the community that we have a city and workplace of civility in our conversations, in our interactions, and when we disagree and have differing opinions. And even with those differing opinions, to maintain and strive, and in this place, for a respectful workplace culture. I encourage the IAFF to remove those billboards. Conversations will continue, and this is the message for all our staff, for our community, and I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wankshius. Councillor Cron, please.
One of the things that I ran on in the election was talking about what's the next simple thing we can do. Some of this is trying to make communities better. What's the next simple thing you can do to make your community better? But also wanting to hear from frontline staff. What's the next simple thing? What's ways we can make things better? What's incremental improvements we can do? Because at some level, at a lot of levels in the City of Red Deer, the status quo isn't going to work. We can't continue to do things the same way we've always done them. And so we implemented dynamic staffing, partly because we have an affordability problem. Running $3 million in overtime costs is, we can't do that again. And so I'm frustrated and confused at the response that we've received from the union, that their solutions have been worse than the problem was to begin with. Where there's room for incremental ideas, there's room for creative solutions to all these things. And instead we've received nastiness and hostility. This isn't the best way we can do this. We can have real conversations, we can find innovative ways to do these things, but we have to have real conversations. We can't have personal attacks. We can't have just nastiness and not being grounded in facts and data the way we do things. So I'm happy to support this resolution, and hopefully that we can find a way forward, going forward, that's better.
Thank you, Councillor Cron. Councillor Barnstable, please.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I want to start off by saying we absolutely 100% value, appreciate, and admire our firefighters for the job they do every single day and the courage they display. I can only imagine what it would be like to run into a burning building with that on your shoulders. This is not an us versus them scenario, as much as some members in our public want to make it that way. We have one of the most decorated fire chiefs in the country. He'd be sought after in almost every single municipality across this country. I know that. To treat him this way truly just isn't acceptable. I want to be clear about the decision that we've made. It is a council decision. We voted on it, we agreed upon it in our budget. It was part of our decisions. If you don't agree with dynamic staffing after having all the facts, so be it. We have spent hours upon hours receiving info, and to me personally, it is the best policy we can have, not only to keep residents safe, but also being smart financially at the same time. Whether you agree with it or not does not give you the right to attack and intimidate one of Red Deer's finest. This council does not and will not tolerate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Barnstable. Councilor Dirksen, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much for bringing this resolution forward, for moving it, and for speaking to it in such an eloquent fashion on behalf of our community. As councilors, we sit in these chairs as governors. We're not firefighters. We're not engineers. We don't drive buses. The point I'm trying to make is that we receive information from the people we hire, and we need to have the confidence in the information and the direction that they give us so that we can make the right decisions. So my colleagues have all spoken to this issue in much more depth and information than I have. I'm not going to repeat all of that. I'm going to focus primarily on Clause 5, which talks to the confidence and support for our fire chiefs and deputy chiefs. Mayor, let me state very clearly for everybody that I have complete confidence in our fire chief. I have complete confidence in our deputies, and they deserve the respect of our community.
Thank you, Councilor Dirksen. Next I have Councilor Jeffries.
Thank you very much. Supporting this resolution is very important to me. The work our firefighters do in this community is critical to every citizen who lives here. In my mind, there should be no tolerance for bullying, harassment, or intimidation. For me, it's about how we want to treat one another within the city as an organization, and how we want to treat one another within the community. The safety and well-being of people, of every single one, is important. With respect to the IAFF, or any other union group, or individuals for that matter, I believe the relationships are paramount. Together, we can address issues. Working against one another, we won't resolve or solve anything. Trust will be broken, and it will take years to rebuild. I believe Red Deer has been well served by strong and trusting working relationships. Many communities in the province operate a staffing model that is similar to dynamic staffing. They might not call it dynamic staffing, but it's a similar model. In the past, together, we have brought about change at the provincial level and been strong advocates for the needs of our community. I certainly hope we all value working together in the best interests of our community and that we can get back to that way. I strongly support our fire chief. I am thankful for our staff in the attention they've paid to this matter, and I would vote in support of this resolution. I'm sad we have to be here, but I'm happy to support this. It's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Councilor Jeffries. We have Councilor Bruma.
Thank you very much, Mayor Johnson. My words are, we are resolved. As I take a look at the comments from my colleagues, we hear today that we are resolved, that we support our chief and our deputy chiefs. There's no doubt about that. We are resolved that dynamic staffing is the way that we need to proceed forward in this, and we need to continue doing that. We are resolved that we want our citizens to be safe. We are resolved that we want to have a workplace that has dignity and has professionalism and has respect for all of the staff that we have, be it emergency services or across this entire organization. And I think that's an important message that our community hears today, because we have been on this issue for some time. Councillor Heim talks about going back to previous audit committees where this has been an issue. We have been, the struggles that we had around the budget table this year in regards to those decisions and to make such a decision was done with resolve. And as we move forward with this, I hope that our community will understand that resolve and the challenging decisions that we as a council need to make. This is not an easy position, and we have faced a number of those challenges. But please respect that we are doing that with insight. We are doing that with wanting to do the very best for our community, and we are doing that because we have the information, we have the insights. And that's a trust that the citizens of Red Deer need to have. Have we made all great decisions? They're tough decisions. They are incredibly tough decisions, and they must be done with resolve. So I am resolved in the confidence with our chief. I am resolved on the dynamic staffing. I am resolved in a safe and a caring and a trusting workplace, and I hope that the citizens of Red Deer will respect that and understand that's why we're making the decision we made today.
Thank you, Councilor Garuma. Council, that is everyone this morning. I will close without, or at least attempting, to not repeat the comments that you have made. I very much appreciate them. I think our staff and ultimately our public appreciates them as well. Thank you for pointing out the complexity of decisions and how we arrive at decisions. Thank you for pointing out that it is council that has made that decision. Thank you for your support expressed in no uncertain terms this morning of our leadership team, our chief and deputy chiefs and so on, are certainly recipients of an unwavering commitment to them, to their dedication, and to their overall calling in the work that they are doing. I will be, council, issuing a joint letter this morning with the city manager to our public, sharing some more statistical data, sharing very current statistical data around the items that we spoke about this morning, so that our public is certainly very, very well informed. That part, I think, will reassure people that council makes these decisions with the gravity of safety and the reality of the fiscal sustainability that we speak to. I appreciate the commentary on the election coming up in just a few months' time, and so on. Our community, I believe Councilor Ryan referenced it, our community itself, if you are listening to me this morning, Red Deer, God bless you, as I always say, my heart, you sustain my heart. It's going to be tough. It's a tough gig to leave the stage. I can tell you that. But my heart this morning is with you, Red Deer, as you need now to be able to do your research and understand what we are attempting to do here, as we say, fiscal responsibility, safety, togetherness, culture, reputation, all of those things that make the fabric of this great city of Red Deer. So Red Deer, I believe Councillor Heim talked about, please prepare or read with resolve. Councillor Garuma, thank you for all the resolves that you brought as well. You know, look at this issue very holistically and understand it and so on. And every candidate I'm speaking to as well, please do the same. That is not to take away in any way studying all sides of the issue and so on. But it is to be informed and so forth. So I'll be issuing that letter. The city manager and I will be issuing a letter to the public this morning. I'm also planning, council, on reaching out as the mayor's office personally to our colleagues at the Firefighters Association to have a discussion on the issue of these billboards themselves and the tone and so on. I'm not entering into, as is the purview, obviously, of administration, I'm not entering into labor matters or matters on contracts or whatever the case may be. Those have a natural progression. I think Councillor Weinches did well to remind us that there is a natural process, a natural progression to those kinds of things. But I look forward to being able to share perspectives with them. Never let it be said that Red Deer is a city that will turn an eye, a blind eye, to decency and civility and the way that things need to occur. That is not the fabric of why we love this city so much. And I believe we've expressed it very well this morning, Council. So, Council, with that, we will call the question. Oh, sorry, I have a note from the city clerk. Apparently, we were unable to bring this up, and so I need to read the resolution, Council. Thank you, City Clerk, for that. So the resolution is as follows. For members of the public, Council has a copy of this, but this is for members. Oh, there it is. That's what we speak it into existence. No, my understanding is that the public is not able to access this the screen. So here it is, Council. Whereas City Council is committed to fostering, and I want to make sure, I'll just check with GM Perkins, this is the label. Whereas City Council is committed to fostering a safe, respectful community and a professional workplace for all city employees. And whereas City Council will not tolerate bullying, harassment, or intimidation of staff in any form, whether internal or external. And whereas public commentary or campaigns that target or undermine individual staff members erode respectful discourse and damage individual and organizational well-being. Therefore, be it resolved that City Council reaffirms its zero-tolerance stance on bullying, harassment, or intimidation directed towards city employees. Number 2, City Council calls upon all parties, including unions, associations, community groups, and individual residents, to engage in respectful, constructive dialogue when raising matters of public concern. Number 3, City Council confirms its support for administration in upholding the city's respectful workplace policies and directs the city manager to ensure employees are protected and supported when subject to inappropriate criticism or harassment. Number 4, City Council calls upon the International Association of Firefighters Local to remove the billboards currently erected and to refrain from future personal attacks as they contribute to an unhealthy work environment. Number 5, in concluding, City Council expresses its confidence and support for our fire chief and deputy chiefs in carrying out their leadership responsibilities and reaffirms that personal attacks on individuals in any position are unacceptable. So thank you, City Clerk, for pointing that out, that the public was not able to access that. Council, if there's nothing further, I'm just making sure that there's nothing further. We will call the question on the resolution. All in favor? Council, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much for that. Council, I'll just go to City Clerk to make sure that concludes what has been A bit of a long week, Councilor Barnstable and colleagues. Nobody used to.
Can I adjourn this one?
I will say it's probably fitting, however, I have the controls of the aircraft now, Councilor Barnstable. Anyway, City Clerk, does that conclude our business for this meeting? It does. Council will call on for a motion to adjourn. That's from Councilor Barnstable, thank you. Seconded by Councilor Cron. Council will be stand adjourned, thank you.
Do we have an hour count on this meeting?
Starting at 25 hours.
It wasn't bad.